Let's talk about guilt. The word alone, what does it feel like when you hear the word guilt or when you think about guilt? Is it a positive or a negative thing? It can be both, depending on what definitions and what meaning you apply to the word and how it's expressed in your life. So I want to take some time to go through how guilt can help us and how guilt can harm us. And I've put together some slides to help me do that. So here we go. The truth about guilt, how it can hold you back or help move you forward if that's the way you see it. Hopefully, this will give you some new insight so that you can allow it to help you rather than hinder you. So, the first thing is to look at how guilt can pull you down because that's what most of us do. We always start out with a circumstance, kind of remembering our manifestation model. Everything starts with a circumstance or the facts around us, something that happens, something that we do, something that somebody else done. But for guilt, we're specifically talking about something you've done and usually something you wish you hadn't done. There's a circumstance. And then you get the feeling of guilt. It doesn't necessarily feel great. It's that awareness that gives you the information that something feels wrong. You're not aligning with your core values or the core who you are. Then it can move into shame. If you're not seeing guilt as positive and helpful, we allow the guilt to feel that feeling of I've done something wrong to shift into I am something wrong. I'm not good enough. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done that. So it's more than just the wrong action. You make it mean something. It's like you infuse it into your being. It's not awareness anymore. You're amplifying it to mean I'm not good enough. When that happens, we get the consequences. There are natural consequences to every action. There's an action, there's a reaction. There are consequences to our actions. However, when we feel this low self-loathing or this shame around what we've done, we often beat ourselves up quick before somebody else hurts me or points out that I've done something wrong. I'm going to do it myself, and then maybe that'll save me the pain of somebody else. I'll just let everybody know what a loser I am. And that's how you show up. You beat yourself up, you punish yourself for the crime committed. What happens when you go this route, though, is that once you've beat yourself up enough, you get the feeling of you've paid the price. And that, now that the penance is paid, mentally, you now have permission to repeat the action. How many of us have gone over and over in this loop of doing something we don't want to do, and then we beat ourselves up and we feel awful, and we even maybe complain to other people, and then we go and do it again, even though we swore we would never do it. But that's all. It's all a mind game. So much of life is a mind game. But because when you go through this cycle, you give yourself permission to repeat the action, even though you don't want to do it. Does that make sense? So before you move on, pause and think about this for a moment. Even you can even pause the video and take out a sheet of paper and write some things down that you have felt guilty for in the past. Some things that I felt guilty for are things I've said, things how I show up with my children, with my spouse, with my job, things that I eat that I don't want to eat or at a super certain amount of time, exercise. The list goes on and on. We all have things that we want to do. We want to be over here and we're moving towards that, and then we hit a wall and then we fall back. If we have a program, and the program can be literally this line of self-judgment and paying the price when guilt comes up. So the whole loop can be a program running in your head. When I feel guilty, I kick myself, I suffer the consequences, and then I repeat it. Does that sound familiar? I bet it does for most of us. Instead, we can choose to shift and see it as positive. So it starts with the same thing, the fact, the circumstance. You wish you wouldn't have done X thing. And then here comes that familiar feeling of guilt. It's just the awareness something feels wrong. What if we could stop right there? What if we could pause and gather this guilt as just what it is? Yes, I did that. Yes, this doesn't align with my internal compass. Yes, I agree with this feeling that's coming up. But that stops there. It doesn't have to shift into shame. It doesn't mean you are any more or less. It means you made a choice. So now that you accept it, you accept that this thing you've done doesn't align with your internal compass, then you can analyze it. Why did I do that? Is this a program that's been running? Where did this start at? What is the first time I've done this type of thing? Where's that sensitizing event? You can either use the manifestation model, or you can do self hypnosis. You can go to a professional. You can write and burn. You can use any kind of tool that you've used in the past to analyze your behaviors or your thoughts, just so that you can get a better thought, so you can see it clearly. Because remember, that old model is not helpful. It just throws you down in the gutter, you beat yourself up, and then you do it again. But instead, we see it as it is, we accept it. Remember the awareness, acceptance, and then we're analyzing it. We're moving through to find a better solution. We adjust. So with this model, we can move upward. We can take that circumstance, that thing that we didn't like about us, or that thing that we didn't like that we did, rather, because remember, it's not about you. You are still that beautiful, wonderful, golden being of light that is here on the planet Earth making mistakes so we can learn from them. So it's a matter of, do we want to let the guilt stop us, or do we want to learn from the circumstance and move forward? That's all it is. That's all it has to be. And then once we learn, we have that awareness, we accept it, we analyze it, and then we move into the adjustment, that last phase. You take action with positive can do attitude and complete forgiveness for the next time the circumstance arises. And that is how you use guilt for your benefit. What do you think? Does that seem doable to you? All right, I know that's a very fast model of how it can be. And when you're living it in the middle of it, it seems much bigger, and it feels like it's just not that easy. I can hear some of you saying, well, yeah, it's not that easy. I've done some really terrible things. We all have. And the quicker you learn how to use this new way of thinking with guilt, the more you can use it as another tool to move forward. We can learn from our past mistakes, or we can repeat them. What do you choose?